Hey, you just yelled at our audience. That what the hell's up with? You're gonna scare them off. Well, we want you. So how you doing? I think you did.
Oh, I think the sound was off. Haha, I forgot to put the sound on. So I was so excited. What I was basically saying is that entire time I'm
Rambling for
talking,
nothing.
there's
Again.
always a glitch. There's always one glitch every time. So the retro buzz is going on hiatus for the foreseeable future. Doug does have a baby on the way, and he should be spending more time with his family during this time, or at least hiding his toys from the baby who may want those toys.
They're
And
still gonna get destroyed.
they still get destroyed. And Steven, not this Steven, the other Steven, wants to concentrate more on his outdoor channel. He is a hunter. And his whole family goes hunting, and he's got some sponsors for it. So he wants to concentrate a little more on that. So the retro buzz, will it come back one day? We don't know. If it does, I'm sure we'll all be on board and we'll go back to that. But in the meantime, I'm here with this Steven from ColecoVision Addict and Xbox Addict, and we're gonna do kicking it old school here every Friday at 8 p.m. If Retrobuzz comes back, we'll try and figure it out. But in the meantime, we're gonna try and make your Fridays a little entertaining for you all. And sorry about the audio issues. I'm trying so many different things here. Steven is also a web developer, and he's learning a lot of the web stuff. So we're hoping to really make the show a lot better in the future. But I'm still this is not going to be Steven the Tech Buzz quality yet, but we'll get there at some point. What do you think, Steven?
I'm learning OBS. OBS is a pretty remarkable program actually. So it's I've been messing around with that, but you need a lot of upload speed in your house and I got 10 megabits here, and if you start streaming games, like my son eats up the whole house's bandwidth, upload bandwidth. So it's kind of sucks, kind of good, kind of sucks. Called up the internet company today and asked them to say, hey, could you get us more upload speed? And they're like, what do you mean you need more upload speed? So I'm
Everyone,
like,
everyone
okay,
needs
whatever.
more speed. Come on, everyone needs more speed.
Yeah, the need for speed.
I
So,
tell you,
but anyway,
my I'm paying theoretically for 400 down and 40 up,
what do you
and
actually get?
yeah, nowhere near that. I'm lucky. I mean, not horribly. I'm lucky if I get 200 down and maybe 20 up. But
If the wind's blowing in the right direction and
yeah,
everything.
at least here in the States, I'm not sure how it is in Canada, but here in the States, they have these things called monopolies. And the cable companies have these monopolies where they say, this is our area. And they're like, you can get DSL. You can go to the phone company and get DSL. And then, basically, it's not much
DSL.
better.
Who uses DSL still? Unless you got absolutely nothing and no
Right.
other options, I could see you needing DSL. But Juan in the chat, try Starlink. I have friends on Starlink and they love it.
Starlink is a good
You're an Elon
option.
Musk fan?
I am. It's not a bad thing. And, maybe at one point, I'll see how that goes, but right now, it's more money, a lot more money to go down that path. But I am a fan. Well, I was more of a fan, not so much now because
Well,
it keeps all his cars keep going up in price, and uh, there was a talk here again in the states of doing a $10,000 not tax credit because before it was tax credits, right? So if you had $10,000 in your taxes, they would take it off. They're talking about giving 10,000 cash right for the car. So what does Elon Musk say? That's great. We'll raise our price to 10,000 to compensate. Like how's that helping?
yeah,
That would take $10,000 off the car. But you gonna raise it $10,000. So not happy with that. Just a quick
it's a bait and switch moment. That's
It
what it
kind
looks
of
like to
is.
me.
So that kind of annoys me about it. But just real quick, we have Juan in the chat. We have Saber Gaming. We have Paul. We have Wolfenaz. Wolfenaz is here. Steven, Adam, of course, Papa. Papa Brad's Gaming's here. We have Mary from Florida. We have a lot of people in the chat. I really appreciate you guys coming in because I know a lot of people were disappointed or shocked, with the retro buzz. To be honest, I hoped we got into at least 100 episodes. We got 92. I was hoping to do,
92, almost there.
yeah, I was kind of hoping we could at least do 100 episodes before we shut down, but it just wasn't to be. So
So
it's one of those things.
technically, this one here was starting out to be one, and then it turned into this, right?
That's true.
So,
That's
so
true.
maybe it's, what is it, 93? You said
92. We got 92
92
episodes
and
in.
a half, or and a third, or hey, who knows?
Oh, we have P Dubs just joined us. P Dubs, remember the Super Game Room Dudes goes on at 9 p.m. We also have Gerald Ford here. Was it Shed 2000? I never sure if I get that right. Shed 2000.
And Autism Father's a local guy that I played Pokemon Go with, and this guy has Otcraft, which is no, just watch.
No,
It's
no,
a
no.
server for kids with autism in Minecraft. It's wonderful. He's been featured by Microsoft and everything. It's great stuff.
No, I'm sorry.
So, but
I
he's
was
talking about the fiber op. Well, fiber op on my street,
right.
which is a park, it doesn't have it available here.
No, I was laughing because Wolfenaz and P Dub said coming to the air. I'm like, what is he talking about? I scrolled up. Wolfenaz goes, I had a girlfriend with DSL. Just saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were laughing at the autism kids, dude. They would have hunted you down and pitchfork. Trust me, you don't go there.
Well, I do.
But he's doing a great thing. Honestly, this guy, I want to promote him so that basically, I don't think he needs promoting, to be honest with you. But in the end, he's had this server for a long time, and he's been featured, like I said, by Microsoft and Mojang and everything else. And he does all these events for these kids. And if
That's
you go on
awesome.
YouTube, you'll actually see there's a story. I don't have a link just yet. Yes, Autism Father. It is frustrating. It's not. He's writing not available here on my street. It's cable or DSL. That's it. So I
Right.
opted for cable, which I get 10 megabit upload maximum, which sucks.
Yeah. But you know
So
what? Cable will still always be better than DSL. Period. I mean, but the bad
oh
thing
yeah,
is
not better than fiber, but
no.
yes,
But
DSL's garbage.
DSL though was synchronous, so you pretty much had a dedicated line, as slow as it
Oh yeah.
is. Where cable is shared, so the more people are on it, it kills you. And just for a PSA, I think penicillin will take care of DSL Wolfenaz for the girlfriend. I think the penicillin will help.
Penicillin?
Yeah, I think that'll help that.
What the hell are we talking about now?
Well, Wolfenaz, you
I
never
blank
know.
out for a whole second. You're talking about venereal diseases? Is that?
Isn't that what DSL is? It's an electronic venereal disease, right?
Oh, geez, man. Look, our chats, everybody's disappearing. They're all leaving us, man.
No,
Way
they're
to go.
coming in. P Dub did a super chat, and
how many people are in the chat? I can't see the number.
We have 25 going through right now, and P Dubs did do a super chat, and I want to thank him. P Dubs, you don't have to do a super chat. I'll always read out your stuff. It says we'll miss the retro buzz.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah, but they'll miss the retro buzz. You guys did great. I will too. When we started that, I don't know how long ago it was, to be honest, but 92.
I was a guest on there at the beginning.
I think the ratings went down. That's when the ratings started taking a tank.
Oh man, it was kind of weird because I was talking about Xbox stuff,
right?
And Steven and Doug were a younger generation than the two of us, and they're like, Xbox, this is great. And as soon as we started talking about the Coleco Chameleon, they just whoop.
Yes.
It was like, sorry guys, this is talking about the Coleco Chameleon. It's kind of new, not really Xbox, but yeah. So it's sad to see that show go for now. It's on a shelf. We'll say it's on a shelf,
Okay.
for now.
So we're gonna do tonight. I think tonight we're gonna switch it up a little bit. The retro buzz again. Everyone, I do thank you for all the support. I got a ton of messages about the retro buzz. I'm sure Steven and Doug did too. And we really enjoyed you guys every Friday, which is why I want to kind of still stay here. But I think tonight, Steven, we should talk about some old TV shows.
Oh God, here we go. That's a slippery slope, man.
It is. So I want the people in the chat to kind of chime in on here. Like when I was growing up, it was the original classic Star Trek, Space 1999, $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman.
$6 Million Man was my jam.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Galactica, right?
I didn't watch that. It was out late, and I I won't say I had strict parents. They're good parents. It's just it was a little later in the evening and it was time for bed and that was that. So it was like, oh, okay, don't get to watch. And everybody at school would freaking watch it and they'd talk about it. And it never got to really got into it. I watched the newer Battlestar Galactica. The I don't know, is it a reboot?
It was a re-imaging.
Yeah, well, that I watched that and I didn't mind it. It was at times hard to watch, but either way, so Space 1999, I did not watch that. I watched a little bit. Buck Rogers, I watched. Remember
Yeah,
Buck
but I
Rogers?
I do.
Was it Twiggy or
Twiggy.
Tweety or what? BG? He made this sound. Yeah, it was really strange. And then there was the $6 million woman.
No,
Or is it-
Bionic
unless it-
Woman. Bionic Woman.
Oh, Bionic Woman. It wasn't the 6 million. Okay. Lindsay Wagner. I started watching it a little more at that time. You know, the best episode of $6 Million Man is when he's fighting Bigfoot.
That was one of
awesome.
the very good ones. The Bigfoot episodes were good, and sometimes the Bionic Woman and $6 Million Man would have crossovers, which was very, I think, new at the time. They really didn't do stuff like that back then.
Yeah. Hey, not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but my camera thing went whoop.
I can fix you. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
The other good episode
No
I
rush,
liked
sir, but
was
keep going.
the Venus probe episodes.
The Mars space probe on $6 Million Man. Really,
Yes.
I must have missed that one.
What? A Death Probe? How did you miss Death Probe?
I remember Maskatron, the dude that had these different faces, and
Yes.
remember that?
Yes.
My brother had the little toy of that character, and you'd take his face off, and it'd be all electronics, and
Yep.
that was like borderline horror on TV. At the time, it was like,
Oh,
I'm not sleeping
Fun
tonight.
fact, I
dreaming of that.
forgot about this. Gerald Ford said that Mel Blanc did the voice of Twiki. Except for
Mel Blanc, really?
He did, but he gotten sick. I think it was during the second season of Buck Rogers. You know, Twiki completely changed. He had like some idiot's voice. It ruined him.
Oh, that sucks.
But yeah, he was doing it
For the
originally.
uneducated, Mel Blanc did the voice of everybody on Looney Tunes, basically, like Bugs Bunny, Yosemite Sam, all that stuff. For the folks that that don't know.
Oh, and also I forgot V the miniseries. That was a good show.
V I liked a lot. I really liked that.
V
a lot.
was good. They remade that one too. I
did see that.
It wasn't worth it.
It was one season or half a season, if I'm not mistaken, and it had the girl from Smallville. I forget, a blonde girl, whatever, she was on there. So Kathleen Kennedy became Twiggy's.
Yeah, I saw that. And Alpha Trion is right too. Now the funny thing is that Gil Gerard, he was Buck Rogers in the show, and they were he was trying the producer. I can't think of his name right now. He did Knight Rider and everything else. What was the producer's name for Knight Rider?
Stephen Cannell.
No. He did. Oh my God, why can't I think of his name? He did Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers. People in the chat, help me. Who was the producer for these shows? Knight Rider.
Stephen J. Cannell.
No.
Sit Boo Boo Sit.
No,
There's that guy.
No.
Well, Knight Rider was that guy, I think.
Well, if someone does it in the chat, brings it up. Glenn Larson. Thank you, Alpha Trion. Glenn A. Larson. So Glenn Larson was trying for a long time. He wanted Gil Gerard. He saw him on a Western, and he said, you'd be perfect. And Gil Gerard was being kind of a jerk. Kept turning him down. And then I guess he pitched him part of the script. And he said, oh, this looks pretty good. And he did it. But then during the entire first season, which was okay. I mean, it was an 80s show. It was just literally like 79, 80 when this came out. And it was all about the women. I mean, it was a women, sexy show for guys. But Gil Gerard wanted to be more serious. And he pissed off the producers. And they gave season 2 to try and make it a little more serious. And the show took a total tank. I mean, I agree with Alpha Trial. The second season,
I watched, I think,
horrid.
the first season, and that's it as a kid. What I watched as a kid, and this is so cliche, was the Dukes of Hazzard. I religiously watched that show on Fridays or whatever it was. I actually bought the record just for that song by Waylon Jennings. It was so like cliche, but I loved that show. Don't ask me why.
No, I loved it too, but I admit, and it's funny. It was a commercial for Knight Rider, except I didn't know it was a TV show yet. They were doing commercials saying, and they had the General Lee in the background. It was on NBC, Channel 4. The General Lee was in the background. So you can watch, this kind of car, or you can look at this car, and it was the Knight Rider, but no one really knew what it was yet. It was all these commercials.
Yeah.
And then when the show
Well, there
came
was what, the
on,
A-Team van, and
right,
then there was all these different cars.
I fell out of Dukes of Hazzard. I went totally into Knight Rider at that point.
Oh, Knight Rider is awesome. I adored that, and my wife and I, when we first got married, we binge watched the whole thing, and you could see the whole thing become a very slippery slope towards the end.
Yeah. Well,
And it was
they
like,
also got rid of the
oh,
guys. They got rid of the two main. Was it Bo and Duke? They wanted more money because they said the car's getting more money than we are. And the producers
they'd trash a car per episode
but then the
almost, or two,
producers are
three
like,
of them.
yeah, it's all about the car. We don't need you. And they kicked them off the show, and they got their cousins to come in. And what happened? The show tanked, or kind of
Yeah.
tanked, and then they brought him back. And then it lasted a little bit longer. But that does happen. Look at, the original Battlestar Galactica. The first season was fantastic, but it was I think it was $1 million an episode back in 1978 when they were making this, right?
Wow.
So we took $1 million an episode, and it was too expensive. So they made Galactica in 1980, which was a complete friggin' train wreck. Destroyed it.
Oh, that's too bad. But Knight Rider was good. Did you see the remake they did with I think it was a Ford Mustang, or I forget, was it a Ford Mustang? It had a whole digital dashboard. I think it was only like 6 or 7 episodes. It didn't do very well
That
at
was
all.
Cobra, wasn't it? Wasn't that Cobra?
No, it was Knight Rider, but a different
Oh
driver.
yeah,
It was a
remember
whole
they
different
did.
thing, and the car would morph
Yeah, they did.
into other
They
shapes.
did. They had a few reboots. I think there was like 3 movies and 4 reboot pilots for Knight Rider. Of course, none of them really took off like the original, but they tried. Um,
Oh, Adam put up a good one. The Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno.
oh yeah,
Oh, that I watched that religiously,
yep.
and they changed the name of Bill Bixby's character. It's not Bruce Banner. Uh, it was different. They changed the name
I don't remember that.
for the series.
His name
Oh
was
yeah,
Bruce,
yeah.
though.
It's
It was Bruce.
David Banner.
David
Banner.
Banner.
I think
Yes.
it was David Banner
Yes.
on the TV series, but in the comic books and in the Avengers and everything else,
Right.
it's Bruce Banner.
Right.
And it confused people, even me. I was like, "Well, isn't it Bruce Banner? Why'd they call him David there? Is it his cousin?" Or I was trying
Probably
to,
a licensing thing. And a couple
I was
other
trying to piece it together.
things in the
It was
chat.
licensed by Marvel.
We have Airwolf. We have
Oh yeah, Airwolf.
Whiz Kids. I remember that. There's a lot of good
Whiz
Incredible
Kids.
Hulk. Whiz Kids.
Ernest Borgnine. I have an Ernest Borgnine story
Go.
from Airwolf. I was in Toronto for Fan Expo, and I was there with my kids, and my kids were very little at that time. My daughter, I think, was like 3 or 4, and my son was like 6 or 7. And I was walking down the hall, taking care of my kids, and I'm looking at the stuff on a table, and this guy bumps into me. I look up, it's Ernest Borgnine, for God's sakes. And he's sitting there apologizing for slamming into me. And I'm just like, that. I couldn't remember his name. I was like, that's the dude from Airwolf. What the fuck? I got bumped in by the guy from Airwolf.
They had that. They have the space in it.
I was trying to tell my.
Did his
I was
teeth have
trying
that
to tell
space
my
in it?
wife-
His little-
Oh yeah. He had this teeth that were out sideways like this. It was, but he was a super nice guy. He was very apologetic, and he was gone before you know it. And I was like, and I was trying to tell my wife who he was. It's the old guy from Airwolf.
And
He bumped into me. I feel like I was blessed somehow by him bumping into me or something.
what's funny is, aside from Airwolf, generally his character was like an asshole character, usually. But I guess in real life he was like a really, really nice guy. But he usually played a hard ass, or someone who's always combative. Like I always remember him from the Dirty Dozen. Like that was the first time I saw Ernest Borgnine. And then
Oh, that's right.
then the
That's right.
Poseidon
Cowboy
Adventure.
movie. Yeah.
No,
He was a cowboy.
the Dirty
Dirty Dozen was a cowboy, wasn't
No,
it?
Dirty Dozen was about the prisoners in World
Well,
War II.
Wasn't he in spaghetti westerns?
I'm sure he was.
Ernest?
I'm sure he
Yeah.
was.
I think everybody was back then in the 60s or whatever.
Oh,
But the theme songs, like what was the tunes there? Somebody mentioned something. Anyways, Gerald Ford, he basically said that the tunes. You know what's interesting is back then, theme songs to TV shows were incredible. Like if you take like Dukes of Hazzard I mean, who goes out and buys a record of that theme song? Greatest American Hero.
No one but
People
you.
still listen to that.
That was a
What's
good
that?
show. I was saying the Dukes of Hazzard was
It
just
was
you.
really good, but the theme song is still to this day. My
80s,
kids love it.
80s had great theme songs. I still listen to
Well,
this.
Airwolf is catchy as all
Street
hell.
Hawk. Listen to Street Hawk. It was a motorcycle version of
Oh,
Airwolf.
Street Hawk is good too.
Oh,
What was the other one? Um, the car that turned 90 degrees.
oh,
Not
oh my God.
and that cursor
Automan.
that Auto Man.
Automan.
Well, that theme song's pretty cool too. And I'm like, all this stuff, and you don't see that nowadays. Like in the 90s, it was like
No.
I think the last of it was Growing Pains, the theme song for that or whatever. It was catchy, you know. Now it's almost like they don't give a crap
They
anymore.
don't. But you know what? But like you said, the theme songs are fantastic back then. And I've actually from the theme song said, well, I'm gonna watch the series again. And I'm gonna ask people in the chat, have you done that and were you disappointed? Like I went
Oh yeah, I
like
got one for you.
go for it.
Oh, this is hilarious. This is funny that we're talking about this. So this was when the internet you could download the TV shows because DVDs weren't being produced, and you had these guys that would capture the TV show and put it out as a DivX file on the internet and stuff like that. So when I was a kid, the show The Man from Atlantis with Patrick Duffy from I guess Dallas or whatever, he played a guy that
Stop.
lived underwater and all this stuff. Well, when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to watch it at all. Are you having technical difficulties, Glenn? Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? What are you playing? He's being silent. He he cut out, I guess. Your battery. Oh, we lost Glenn. Oh, we're good. So did you hear anything about? Okay, so this show was called The Man from Atlantis
Okay.
with
Oh
Patrick
yes, I
Duffy.
remember that show.
And when I was a kid, I was not allowed to stay up and watch it. Okay,
What? That was on like
so I think I watched
9
one.
o'clock. You had to go to
Oh
bed?
yeah. Oh, my parents put me to bed at 8.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, yeah. I don't resent them for it. They were doing the
I
right
resent
thing,
them
I guess.
for you. Come on.
So I downloaded the first season, okay, of this Man from Atlantis. And when I was a kid, I remembered his hands with the webbing of all that stuff. I could not muscle my way through 2 episodes at all.
Now.
That's how bad it
Right.
was. I was like, what was I thinking as a kid? Like, what am I looking at?
He had the nice web, the web in his hands.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is he had like they probably had like a latex glove thing or
Right.
whatever, but he had the webbing, and I was like fascinated by that. It does not hold up well at
You know,
all with time. Knight Rider
I'm
does,
gonna
but
bring up
that
a
does not.
show. I'll be surprised if people know or remember it. It was on CBS
Okay.
Channel 2 here. It was called Outworld. See if anyone in the chat
I
knows
don't
this
remember
show.
that at all.
The basically what the show was is this family went to a pyramid and something like a lightning storm, and they got pulled into an alternate Earth where it was a totalitarian, world, and they were trying to find their way back home, and they knew they were from another dimension, kind of like Sliders, and
Oh yeah.
it was that type of show, but it was in the early '80s. It was called, uh, it was either Outworld now or Otherworld. Maybe called Otherworld. What it was called, but it only lasted one season. But in the '80s, again, cartoons, TV shows, I think were better, but
Oh
also
yeah.
cornier because you look back and you're like,
Well,
"Huh."
it doesn't hold up. Like even the Spider-Man TV show with the guy's rope coming out of his wrist. Do you ever remember
Oh,
that?
that was yeah,
The
that was originally supposed to be made for TV movies, and they chopped it up into making it into a series. I do remember that.
And I wanted to watch that again, and I had to go to bed again, and it's one disappointment. But I tried again watching that, and just the fact that it was Spider-Man, I was like, oh man,
Okay, here's a good one.
Manimal,
Here's a good one.
Manimal. I saw that.
Who said this? Discard and re-enroll. Land of the Lost. That was a kids show. Sigmund and Croft. It was like one of those $5 TV shows with green screens, about as good as my green screens. Maybe those are even better. I don't know. But it was basically, they they got sucked down a waterfall, and they went to this other land where there were dinosaurs and sea slacks, if they were called, the lizards over there. Um, but they made that show. They also made Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, the Far Out Space Nuts. Gilligan from Gilligan's Island was on that one. They were lost in a spaceship. The Far Out Space Nuts. They had that show. Sigmund and Croft. Slee Stacks. Thank you, Gerald Ford. Slee Stacks were the bad
But
guys in
even
there.
Gilligan's Island, I think Gilligan's Island, if you like that kind of humor, it still holds up pretty good.
It does, and we feel bad for them because when that show
It's not
came out,
amazing,
they
but
got
it's
paid they got paid so much an episode, and that was it. Like they didn't get any residuals.
residuals
They
or nothing.
sued. I want to say like in the late '90s, they sued and they finally got something for it. But back then, you were paid just for the show. That was it. There was no residuals. You got paid like a job. That's what you did. And the studio then made all the money on, like Brady Bunch. Look at them, the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Those shows went on forever. We were talking before. A show you really won't see anymore, All in the Family, Archie Bunker. You're not gonna see that.
Yeah, you and I were talking about this before the show went on that I I figured out that Meathead on All in the Family is the guy that directed, The Princess Bride, Stand By Me, Misery, and I'm like, ah, it's the same guy. So it's like,
And
but somebody mentioned, what did they mention here? There was one.
those
Hold
two,
on,
there was
SCTV.
SCTV. That's a Canadian show, right? That was
Would you
like
like some pancakes? There's John Candy's character, in the Count Floyd.
we have Curtis with Doctor Shrinker. I remember that show. That was a Sigmund and Croft show. And then Codebreaker, Voyage of the Time Traveler show. That was like a guy and a little boy. Kind of weird. Guy was like in his 30s and the kid was like 12. But Voyage, I remember that show. Oh, the
Yeah, the
Puffin stuff.
pedophiles weren't out of the woodwork at that point in the
Maybe
80s. They
Puffin
were
stuff.
they were hidden in churches and stuff
Do
like
you
that.
remember Puffin stuff? Do you remember that show? HR Puffin stuff. Something
No,
something Puffin stuff. Yeah, it was.
but there's some stuff we got here in Canada, right? Like that didn't air in the States and vice versa. But there was a lot of like NBC, ABC, whatever, or CBS, whatever aired on those we got. But there's some of the odd little like some of the Canadian the Canadian audience will remember the Beachcombers, which is a totally Canadian show. Littlest Hobo, the dog
Littlest
that was
Hobo?
smarter than Lassie.
No one. Hey,
Not
no one's smarter
not
than Lassie.
Hobo. That's
Hold on
bad.
now.
Hobo. Yeah, Littlest Hobo. I forget his name again. They gave him the dog, but basically this dog was a German Shepherd. He was incredibly smart, and Littlest Hobo man was for kids and family, and this dog would solve crimes and the whole nine yards. It was kind of like Canadian version of Lassie, but cooler it seemed. And Mike Myers was on an episode.
Mike Myers, as in like.
Not the killer guy. Wayne's World. Doctor Evil. That kind of that guy. When he was really young, it was one of his first gigs, being on this Littlest Hobo, and he played a kid in a park that was lost or something, and it was pretty funny.
I tell you,
But
I'm so thankful for the chat people here. They're bringing up so many shows. Like I've forgotten some of these. So people in the chat keep them coming. Banana Splits.
Oh,
Space
the
Night.
dog did have a name. The name was London.
London. That's okay.
Yeah. The dog was called London.
I never heard of the hilarious House of Frankenstein. I never heard of that one.
Oh, dude. Oh, okay. So check this out. We're into computers and the geekiness and everything. The hilarious House of Frankenstein was a Canadian kid show, I guess.
Okay.
And there was a guy in the 80s on TV Ontario, which was a government-funded TV, whatever. And there was a show on there called Bits and Bytes, which this guy, he'd teach you about the Commodore 64 and computers. This is input, output, blah, blah, all that stuff.
Right.
His name was Billy Van. Well, the guy, you'd watch him a year or two later or before that or whatever, and he played the Dracula guy
Okay.
on this show, and you didn't know it was the same guy. And he was a tremendous actor. Billy Van is a legend, basically. But it was a very they had like kind of like a Wolfman Jack on there a little bit, and then they had like these skits, and it's pretty funny. YouTube it. It's the hilarious House of Frankenstein. It's Count Floyd was on SCTV, I believe, but on the hilarious House of Frankenstein, I forget the other skits on there. It's been a while since I've seen that,
Well, there
but
was
yeah,
another Canadian show I knew you guys had that I don't think we had here. They took the game Lucasfilm Maniac Mansion, and you guys had a Maniac Mansion show, a kid show up there. I don't know if you even knew about that.
no. What describe that for me?
But do you know the game
Your
Maniac?
audio cut out too, by the way. I don't know if
Okay.
it's affecting everybody else,
Do
but
you did you ever play the Lucasfilm game Maniac Mansion?
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So they made a TV show out of it, but I know it was up in Canada. It wasn't here in the States.
Hmm. I did not know that.
So you have to look up Maniac Mansion. I think actually one of the guys from SCTV was in it, as a matter of fact, if I'm not
It could
mistaken.
be. That could be. And then reboot. I saw that.
Reboot, Romper Room. Okay, yeah, I know about Romper Room. I also know about Wonderama, but I don't want to talk about those shows.
What was
Oh,
it? Captain Kangaroo.
Captain
Captain
Power.
Kangaroo.
Captain Power and the
Captain
Soldiers of the
Power. Yeah.
Future. That was a good show. That was also Michael J. Straczynski. I have to say his last name. Michael J. Straczynski. Guy who did Babylon 5, basically, did a lot of the episodes
Okay.
there. Very good show. And again, Mattel killed it because it wasn't selling enough for the toys. That was one of those shows that they built, the toys interacted with the screen, which was kind of new at the time.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Yeah, there was was it that show that you had like something with flash on the
that was
screen?
it. That was Captain Power and the
What was
Soldiers of the
that? What
Futures.
was the?
So what it did
wh-
was the screen would have certain, like the robot enemies would have these little plates on them that would flicker, and you'd have either a jet fighter or a gun. And when they came on the screen, you could shoot them, and it would register in your gun. But if there was a battle and they were shooting out and you didn't get them first, your gun would register the hits. So it was actually quite interesting.
Interesting.
So it was a show that actually interacted with the people in the audience. But again, the government stepped in and were like, this might be almost like a mind control thing, and they kind of like snuffed. I'm serious. And the show was actually really, really good. I'll put it up against any of the shows today because the writers, even though it was a kids show, the writers wrote really good stories in this thing. It was basically, they
I remember it vaguely,
well, it
like
was
really
it was
vaguely.
basically like
Like
Terminator 2. It was basically that the AI.
that's great for the kids.
Well, one of these guys, he wasn't supposed to do something, and the AI went to his brain, and he became part of the AI, and they started wiping out humanity. But what's kind of cool about it is they had these robots that could digitize you. If they come up to you,
Oh,
they
interesting.
pull you into them, and they would torture you. Obviously, when you're in there, and they can bring you back out.
That's the imagination right
It
there.
is. They had Sauron, the bird character was Sauron, and then they tried making these tank guys. I forgot what his name was, but a very, very good show. Captain Kangaroo, I do remember him. That was, when I was growing up, I would probably
I watched that a little
Super
bit too.
Friends. No, Super Friends.
Super Friends was
Scooby Doo.
cool. Yeah.
Scooby Doo, those type of shows.
The Mighty
Thundar the
Hercules. You ever
Barbarian.
watch that? What was
Hercules?
it?
Thundar the Barbarian.
The Mighty. Oh yeah, Thunder the Barbarian. I remember that. In Canada we had the Mighty Hercules in the morning, around 7:30, 7 o'clock.
Hercules,
Before you,
Hercules, Hercules. Not that
it
show?
was close to that. It was close to that. It was Hercules, and then it had like a centaur and a little tweet guy or whatever. Maybe that's what the Twitter comes from. I guess I don't know, but it was called the Mighty Hercules. It was pretty cool. It was yeah, if you Google it one day, you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, maybe I did see that, maybe I
Okay.
didn't. But I used to watch, you know.
Here's another show that
Shit.
again was very adult for its time, and Curtis once again brought it up. And I have the DVDs of this.
Do you? What's it called?
Dungeons,
Shape of a Glass of
no,
Water?
Dungeons and Dragons. That was,
Okay.
if you haven't seen that, you can get it on YouTube. Very excellent show. And again, stories that
Is it adapted to the board game, like
and
the role playing
loosely,
game?
right? So they
Okay.
had a dungeon master, and what happened was these kids go to a carnival, and six of them go on, a roller coaster in this Dungeons and Dragons roller coaster. Something happens; they get pulled into this other world. The bad guy in there was called Venger. He had actually one horn out of his head. He's like a Darth Vader type of character, but it was
That means he
dark.
was horny, right?
I guess so, again, for a kids show, it was very dark, and it got passed around between Channel 2 here, then Channel 7. I think it went to Channel 4 at one point, but It's one of those shows where the kids were trying to get home every show, right? They were trying to always get home, and the they canceled the show before they were able to do something to end the end of the series, right?
Oh,
This is
that's crazy.
we're talking 1982, 1983. So they had the show where again it was excellent storyline. Every single episode was excellent, but you didn't know, did they get home? Did they get killed there? You never knew. So they apparently was a script.
That's awfully dark, you know that.
No, it
It's,
is. I'm
you
saying
know,
this. That's why it
it's like
was
give kids
very,
nightmares.
very
That's
much so.
nightmare fuel right
Very
there.
much so.
Stuff like that.
This was pre the U.S. government stepping in and saying you have to make them educational. This is when cartoons were good. So there apparently was a script, but it was never actually done, right?
Oh,
So I
gotcha.
think it was like 4 years ago, someone took the script, actually made animation for it. They actually made an episode. It's on YouTube. You can look up the final
Oh,
episode. It's
wow.
called I can't think of the final episode. Requiem, Dungeons and Dragons Requiem, and that's the final episode. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but you'll find out what happens to the kids, and it was extremely well done. If you're a fan of that show, definitely look up
Well,
that episode, Requiem, Dungeons and Dragons.
that's cool. Hey, I've got a cartoon that everybody will know in the chat, and nobody seems to have mentioned it. Inspector Gadget.
Spectre Gadget was good. It was good. The old
I
stuff.
watched that when I was a kid, man. I'd run home and it was weird. It was good. It was weird. And I think that's a Canadian production, if I'm not mistaken.
It was Dick.
It's
I can say that.
a
I can
what?
say that here. It was by Dick. DIC.
DIC.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Dick.
And they'd say that at the end too. It's
Dick.
like all the kids would be like, "Oh, I
He's a
said a bad
dick.
word."
Well, I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
Battlestar
yeah.
Galactica. When you said frack, you could say frack, Felgacarb. The teachers had no idea what you're saying. You're like, frack that. And they're like, what does that mean? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, exactly. The Inspector Gadget I watched a lot as a kid. It was pretty cool. Voltron.
Voltron was awesome.
I watched the new Voltron on Netflix. It's amazing.
5 seasons, 6 seasons.
My son and I watched. I think it's 5 or 4 seasons, something like that. It's great. Can't ask for anything better than that.
I
It's
actually
pretty
got
awesome.
3 episodes in and I kind of fell off the map. I'll go back to it. I fell off the map.
Yeah,
on that
Saber
one.
Gaming mentioned Masters of the Universe. I didn't watch it that much. It was
I
I
watched
liked it.
She-Ra more. Can't imagine why I watched She-Ra more.
Yeah. I didn't, like I said, I only liked the part when he turned into He-Man, that whole
Right.
sequence. I thought that was the coolest, and then I couldn't really sit and watch the rest of the episode.
Well,
I
I
was
gotta
like,
say,
okay.
Filmation was very much like the shows of like the 50s and 60s, where they only paid for like 4 frames of animation, and they
Yeah,
kept reusing
that's
it.
right.
But Filmation they had pioneered, and I think even patented that lighting effect, like was doing the thing with the sword, those sparkly effects.
Oh, okay,
That was
yeah.
something that was unique to Filmation, and they of course used it as much as they could. But
They called it what is it, rotoscoping
no, it wasn't
or
rotoscoping. It was a different effect. Rotoscoping is where you're actually tracing over a
No,
person.
but they actually drew the actors'
Right.
real life and on top of.
And we got to mention, Paul mentioned, we have to mention, of course, G.I. Joe and Transformers. Those were humongous.
G.I. Joe was
shows
cool. I enjoyed that.
in the 80s. Cobra.
Cobra.
I always went for Cobra myself. I felt bad for Cobra Commander. Guy couldn't get a break.
Yeah, they were, and then Ronsky said the Ghostbusters was from Filmation, but it wasn't the Ghostbusters that we all know with
but
the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It was a different thing,
But it was the
there was a
original.
legal thing with that.
was the original.
Apparently.
The one with the ape, the Ghostbusters Filmation, was from the 60s TV series that Filmation did with live action
Oh,
people.
yeah.
It was actually 2 guys and a guy in a gorilla suit. And that was Ghostbusters. And then the movie came out, and they had to get licensing from them for the title. They almost called it something else. They wanted to use Ghostbusters. They paid for the license. But then when the animation came out, here's another true fact. When the animation came out, Filmation's like, hey, listen, we own it. We'd be happy to do the animation for the Ghostbusters, the one we know with, Slimer and all that stuff. And they went all through the contract, and at the last minute, they did a dick move. I mean, DIC, dick move, and went to Dick Animation Studios because they undercut them money-wise. Because I think what Dick is in, not Canada, I think it's actually in China or Japan. So Filmation goes, oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to call it Ghostbusters because we own it. And they came out with theirs. And to be honest, in context, it wasn't a bad show. But I remember turning it on going, because it came out like 2 weeks before the real Ghostbusters that we know came out. So I'm like, Ghostbusters,
Yeah,
great. I'm
yeah.
like, what the hell is this?
And then big disappointment. What's an ape doing there?
Yeah,
Like I thought the same thing. It was like, well,
what
what
a
the hell's
catchy
an ape?
tune. Let's go
Dan
Ghostbusters, and it was a catchy tune.
Daniel Demers said the Hercules cartoon was great. Can't remember how old it. The Hercules cartoon, if I'm not mistaken, it was in the 70s and late 60s. It was yeah, at the same time when the Spider-Man television series
Right?
and the background would be the same over and over again. It was that same
Well,
era. So
Thunder, not Thunder, Thor. I mean, all those show. Captain America had those still frames, but I want to say hi to Jen. Jen joined here, and I'm actually torturing her right
hi
now.
Jan.
This is all because I'm torturing her right now. She had me watch Game of Thrones. I never watched Game of Thrones, and I saw all the episodes, and I
Did you watch the whole thing?
loved
Are
it.
you're all caught up?
I
It
loved
was
it.
awesome, eh?
I'm so disappointed they ended it. They could have gone on a couple more seasons. But
Oh yeah.
the deal was, if I watch Game of Thrones, she's going to watch Babylon 5. So yesterday we watched the in the beginning. So she told me she liked it. She told me she liked it. I'm not sure if I truly believe her just yet, but she's a trooper. She's got to put up with like 500 episodes. It's like 24 episodes over 5 years plus like 3 movies. Then there's Legends of the Rangers and what was the other thing?
It's beyond me. I
GoBots.
don't remember that.
We have GoBots too.
GoBots.
Inhumanoids, Centurions, Tarzan, Flash Gordon. There's so many of these great shows that kids don't watch today.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how television has just changed in general. Like think about it, most of the good shows are on Netflix, a streaming
Right.
service. You know what I mean? Like, our old Commodore 64s couldn't really stream anything, so it's 300 baud. It's like
My first modem was only 300 baud. Actually,
mine too.
150. The Atari was 150.
Mine was the Mighty Mo modem on the 64, and you can actually see at 300 baud the characters downloading visually. Like that's how. So
I know a show.
I thought he was saying the guy. I thought Wolf and Oz was talking about MASH, not
Mask. Mask.
I thought he was.
I'm glad he brought that up.
Well, I'm looking at it. I read
Yes.
MASH,
Right.
and I'm like, oh, I need better glasses or something. But
that's a show I had really fond memories as a kid. I really enjoyed Mask.
Hot Lips.
I really enjoyed it. So I started watching it. It's on YouTube. I started watching it and going, oh my God, this is horrible. This is like the worst show
It doesn't
ever.
hold up. What's funny about that show? Some episodes hold up, and some just not at all.
Right, but the opening sequence, like the intro of the show, is fantastic. The song gets stuck in your head. Then I start watching the show, and I'm like, oh my God, I used to love this show, and it is so bad.
You know what? Watch some episodes. I watched, I think, about 5 or 6 one day, and out of the 5 or 6, one of them, I was like, well, that was cool. The rest of it was like weird and just off the cuff stuff, and it was good for the time. But I'm going to bring up another show which I loved, was Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son was good.
Love that show.
I'm coming.
Oh yeah, Red Fox was so good. When I was a kid, I memorized the line, "You're so ugly, you put your face in cookie doughs and make some gorilla cookies." I memorized that, and I was telling that to everybody at school. I wasn't very popular that day, but it was funny. It was great,
Well, we talk
Sanford and Son, I thought was
you
awesome.
can't mention that show without not talking about Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh yeah,
What's Happening? Yeah, that show.
You know what? That show I actually watched. Where was it, on Amazon Prime, I think, or somewhere? I forget where.
Rerun.
And you know what? Yeah, rerun. That show surprisingly holds up still. It's not bad. Like I thought it was going to be like, I'd like to watch the Jeffersons again, just to see how.
Yeah, those shows were good. You know why? They actually wrote stories. The problem is now they're all so politically incorrect. That's the problem with the society today. Everyone's offended about everything.
Oh, don't watch the Jeffersons if you're offended.
No, you can't watch All in the Family. You can't watch Jeffersons.
You big honky and
Welcome
stuff like
Back,
that.
Kotter.
It's like
Chico and the Man. That show will never see the light
Chico
of
and the
day.
Man was pretty cool.
They'll never show that
You
again.
know that the guy in there is Freddie Prinze Jr.'s dad?
What?
like Freddie Prinze
Yeah,
Jr.,
yeah, I know him. Who's his
the
dad?
actor. Well, his dad was Freddie Prinze. It was the guy in Chico and the Man, not the old guy there, the younger fella. So it's I'm pretty sure it's this. Oh, your battery died again.
I gotta pay the electric bill here on
Okay,
my
you
headset.
guys need to send Glenn some gear. Oh, we got Tony. Just hold on, Tony. Batteries, charging. Oh, there goes. You're good. Uh, I hear you fine. I hear you fine. Are you good? Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Can you hear me
I
now?
had this thing charging for like 10 hours.
Your voice changed. That's weird.
I'm young. Is
Get it
what happens.
wired. Get it wired. Am I cut out
No, you're
now?
good. Three's
I was like,
Company,
what the hell?
Werewolf.
You
I
you
forgot
should
about
have
that show.
a scene in
Werewolf.
OBS that says we're experiencing
We
technical
are, yeah,
difficulties at
it's always
screen.
me. It's always me. But I charge this thing for like a day and a half, and I can't make 15 minutes. I mean, this is supposed to be a good. It's like a good headset. What else should we be missing? I'm just going through the chat real quick here.
So
Jabberjaw,
Electric
Jabberjaw.
Adventures. Hey, by the way, Electric Adventures is here. He's in Tasmania. Chime in. So it's morning over there now, and we're gonna give a plug. Berserk is pretty close to being done. Like I think there's some little tiny things to polish up, and it's done.
Well, that's Berserk for the
So
ColecoVision, right?
that's right for the ColecoVision. So I did all the graphics. The only graphic I didn't do is his logo at the beginning of the game. That's it. Everything else I did. And essentially it plays pretty close to the arcade. The
Oh, I
speech, I mean, the Coleco can't produce the speech from the arcade, obviously.
right.
So you've got an option to have it be as good as it is or off or whatever. So we tried to please. There's a version on the Commodore 64 that came out. I want to say about a month ago,
Okay.
and ours is on par with that. So that's good.
And real quick, Fraggle Rock. I remember
Oh yeah,
my
Fraggle
uncle
Rock.
Anthony actually worked for HBO Viacom, and I was like 12. He took me to New York City to meet Jim Henson. So I actually went.
No,
I
really?
went to his penthouse. So I went to the Jim Henson Studios in New York City, and it was hysterical. We walk in, and my uncle's a lawyer. He's like, "Mr. Guido is here to to see Mr. Henson." And I'm just like looking up because the way they had the place, it was like 8 stories, but the center was all open, and they had like an earth at the top, and coming down from the top was all the different creatures that they made from Sesame Street and Dark Castle at the time, or Dark Crystal that came out at the time.
Dark Crystal, yeah, he did
So
all that.
I see all those things, and I went to the creature shop, and I saw Oscar the Grouch, and I saw Big Bird, and I saw all these them being made. And then I went up to the penthouse, and I watched with Jim Henson. I watched the Dark Crystal with him uh, in his studio.
Wow,
So
dude, that's a great story.
where was video cameras back in like 1981? Because
They were expensive,
uh,
that's why,
uh,
and they were big, like in Back to the Future, where he's, you know, film the car, not me, not
well,
me. Like the JVC thing was ginormous.
because of
So
my
it's
uncle,
yeah.
like I said, I met Jim Henson, and my uncle was also
You should have
instrumental.
got a picture with him.
I know, but he was also very instrumental in something else. If you know a show called Farscape.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I remember
right. So
that.
Farscape was on Sci-Fi Channel, and again, they ended it on a cliffhanger, and they canceled it. Sci-Fi didn't want to pay because it was an expense; she didn't want to pay anymore. So again, my uncle was an entertainment lawyer for HBO, and there were some very rich people overseas who said, "Listen, we want to know what happened. We want to know what happened." They said, "Well, it got canceled. We would need like I don't know, 15, $20 million to start up again." There you go. It's like what? I'm funding it. I want to see. I want to know what happens. So that final movie, no joke,
That's
no joke. It's
fancy
serious.
about it. Oh, that's
So
funny.
so they wrote a script, and I still have the videotapes upstairs. I have the two prototype videotapes of the first screening of the final episode movie of Farscape. I have a letter from Jim Henson thanking this guy for funding this, and I got a little watch, a little Farscape watch with Jim Henson on it.
Dude, that's totally awesome.
So anyone out there who's a Farscape fan, we have to all thank my uncle Anthony for writing the contract and talking to these people who funded out of their
Wow.
own pocket the final movie for Farscape.
That's crazy. That's an awesome story. So, what time is it?
We got some
Or
time
how
left.
many? Yeah, how long you want to go?
Well,
tonight
the
there?
Super Game Room dupes go on at 9:00. So
Okay,
we got
so
a
we'll
few more
wrap it
minutes.
up in about 7 minutes or so.
7
or-
minutes or so.
Yeah. So that's good. I'm glad. How many people did we have tonight in the whole thing? 37.
I think we got 2 people. Yeah, we have.
What do you mean 2
I'm
people?
kidding. We have about 40.
Chat's going
About
crazy.
40 people going right now, which I think is pretty good for, you know, our
A last minute show.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Really.
I'm hoping
We'll see if we can try to commit to every Friday at 8.
Well,
Let's see if
we
we
are
can try to.
committing every Friday day. That's committed. The problem is if I can.
No,
share
you're
it up more.
committed. You got a free straight jacket every time.
I
so
do.
it's- Yeah.
I do. Oh, you shifted over again. You're going
Give
crazy.
yourself that.
Uh,
That's your shitty computer.
we have good times, which is another good show.
As my kids would call it, your potato computer.
It is. Well, I'm a retro guy. That's what it is. So it looks like Curtis's
Retro.
wife is obsessed with Farscape. So tell your wife, my Uncle Anthony brought that show back.
That's awesome. Well, it looks like Paul seems to enjoy the show. We're going to talk about literally, just to tell people, right? Like, we're going to talk about basically the pop culture that left an impression on us, whether it's computers, rock and roll music, whatever, pop music, to movies, TV shows, to whatever. And
Yeah.
it's pretty cool because everybody remembers something a little different, like, and in your story, like the Fraggle Rock, Jim Henson story kind of thing. You can't make this stuff up.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like
and we want to hear from
pretty cool
people in the
stuff.
chat. If you guys had, something that happened, we're gonna make this so we can have guests on. I wasn't ready tonight to have any guests on, but we're gonna have guests on as well. But definitely share your stories in the chat. That'll help us spark along where we're gonna go. And
Well, yeah, because it's a segue, right?
Right.
It'll, if somebody could have a great story and stuff like that,
Right.
it'd be,
but
it'd be awesome.
we're gonna talk about shows, video games, anything and everything. We're not gonna just concentrate though on video games or TV shows. Each week will probably be something a little bit different.
And sometimes we'll talk about what's happening in the world or on The Mandalorian or whatever.
Yeah, just not Boba
It'll
Fett.
be a
Boba
mix.
Fett sucked. Boba Fett sucked. I'm sorry. 2 episodes were good. 3 episodes maybe good. But it sucked.
Well, they call it the Mandalorian show. That's what aired, really.
Pretty much.
Because the best part of the whole thing was when Luke and Grogu were there, that
Right.
whole scene.
Or the Mandalorian was on it. I mean, what kind of show it is when the main character has to be sidelined to have a good show?
Not even there. I heard horror stories from that Overlord DVD guy about they panicked and they shoved in those 2 episodes in there. I don't know. There's rumors about like they panicked.
They should, because
when
all
it
the
was
stories
doing so
before it
bad or
stunk.
whatever. So
It stunk.
I don't know the specifics, but
And Wolf and Oz is right. They totally pussified Boba Fett. They did. That character.
they need to make him badass. That's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah.
They just needed to make him badass.
You can't
That's it,
be
that's
you
all,
can't be mercenary. Again, there wasn't a lot of screen time for him, but the lore of that type of mercenary, where Vader's got to tell him no disintegrations. Obviously, he's just vaporizing people left and right, killing people. To go to what he is now, it just doesn't make any sense. And that's like what they did with Luke. I always get back to Kathleen Kennedy. I can't get away from it.
Oh, dude,
With Luke.
step away from the light.
Oh,
It gets you all upset.
It
Then you have to
does.
take your meds. And then, we have to calm you down. We're hours on a phone call
yeah,
after
people don't
because you're
realize-
all upset about Kathleen
yeah.
Kennedy.
You gotta realize the show goes off, but I'm not off. I'm like flaming on Kennedy. It just keeps
Oh yeah,
going.
Glenn, you know what? He didn't have a flood a few months back. He took a baseball bat to his walls after the show about talking about Kathleen Kennedy, and it destroyed his house, and he made everybody believe it was a flood. Shame on you, Glenn. Shame on you.
That Kennedy.
So, hey, how does that basement flood panning out? Are you putting up drywall? How's it coming?
Well, right now, I got paid out from the insurance company, and every every dime of that had to go to the water mitigation people, and they did a good job. So I can't really complain about them. But there's nothing done out here yet. This is all green screen. If I take down the green screen, it's still bare walls, no insulation, no floor. I'll probably over the summertime slowly just buy some sheetrock and do a sheet at a time. It's not too expensive, although now with what's going on, maybe it will be. But
Maybe if we take a New York vacation, I'll bring my tools down and go give you a hand.
it might be just easier to go to the dollar store and buy green tablecloth and just green screen it from now on. Just it looks great. Put a special effect
Or
on
just
there.
get green paint on your new walls and you don't have to buy a green
Right.
screen at all. That could work. So I think it's a wrap
It
up.
is.
It
We'll
seems
wrap
like
it up,
we're at
Stephen.
the end
I'm going to
here.
let you say something for a minute, and I'll close up the show. So, anything you want to say, any shout outs, please go for it, Stephen.
You know what? Thanks for the people that went on my Facebook feed and showed up and said a few words. I greatly appreciate it. Hope to see you guys. Hopefully, maybe we'll try to do one next week, and then we'll, if you guys have show ideas, that sort of thing, maybe post it up in the comment section. Glenn will read them up and give them some ideas and give us some ideas on what we're gonna do and whatnot. So yeah, it's this is awesome because the the guys basically in the chat are driving the show in a sense.
Right.
The audience is driving the show, which is
Right. And
fantastic.
that's what we
You
want. We
know,
don't want this to be me and him. We want this to be you guys. And we're just
yeah,
feeding
absolutely.
off of what you guys are putting in there. We really want to make this a community show. And Juan, he
Mm.
just sent us a super chat again. Thank you, buddy. Great show, guys. Old school is the best school. We think so too. And I just want to say, because I know Super Game Room dudes will be going on in a minute, and you guys should hop over to check them out. I just want to say once again that for me personally, Stephen and Doug, we really, really appreciated all the support you guys have given us over the years. We were on for years. And, it's time for those two to start new endeavors. Maybe one day we'll bring the show back. But for me
It's
personally,
life.
it is. For me personally, I humbly thank all the wonderful messages I've gotten from you guys on the show. Super Game Room dudes have picked up that torch and they'll run with it at this point. And that's it. I mean, I'm thankful you guys are here tonight. I'm hoping we'll see you again next week and the following weeks. And Steve and I are gonna try and make this the best community show every week that we
We're
can.
gonna keep kicking it old
Keep it
school.
old
That's what
school.
we're gonna do.
But from
And then you can yell in the camera again if
I
you want.
can just bring up Kathleen Kennedy, I'll start yelling.
I'll go for it. Kathleen Kennedy is on a beach nude
Oh,
somewhere.
don't throw up in my mouth.
I thought I'd make you throw up a little bit inside, you know?
But everyone in the chat, I want to. Wish I could thank you each. I don't have time, but I do want to thank you right now. That I really do appreciate it. Stephen appreciates it, and from us here at Kicking Old School, and from the cast of the Retro Buzz, we really want to thank you all. And that's it. I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your night. Super Game Room dudes should be coming on right now, and that's
Game
it.
on.
Game on, my friends.
Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.